It's time for another look at the month ahead for November. Before we get there, I need to share with you that this will be the last month ahead you'll be seeing from me here on Cape Town TV. And indeed, this is the second last show on Cape Town TV. Next week is my final show. We'll be having a look at everything we did over the last 7 years, and I do hope you're going to join me for that. It's time for me to move on to other projects. I've got big plans up my sleeve, and I need to be focusing on those. Of course, you'll always be able to catch up with me all around the internet. Make sure you find me on YouTube and subscribe to my channel there, where you'll still see some monthly updates happening occasionally, as well as other astrological and other updates that I might do. So subscribe to me on YouTube. Look out for me on various other blogs and interviews in the upcoming months around the net. You will find a few that are still coming. And here I've had a fantastic time on this amazing channel, Cape Town TV, that serves the community in such a beautiful and accepting and widespread fashion. It's been so great being here. And I'm sad to leave, but I can't do everything at the same time. So I'll see you when I see you on YouTube, and you'll keep on watching Cape Town TV for their fabulous content. But it's also still a time to have one last look at the month ahead. And of course, it is an important month ahead because the Rugby World Cup final is in this. We will be playing at the Rugby World Cup final in another week's time. So it's looking still good for us in the rugby. We should be able to hold on to our title, create a special new record. All of those things are really looking pretty good in the sports arena for us. But what this is really all about, and beyond sport, what's so significant in South Africa's chart for the month of November is that it's really about knowing who your friends and enemies are, because there's a lot of polarity in our month ahead. I'm sure know there've been a couple of eclipses lately, and all of those kind of energies are acting very strongly in the chart. And frequently, the energy of an eclipse is very much about this kind of opposing forces clashing. And that's very true for the current situation, very much about opposing forces clashing. Of course, as usual, a lot more of that is going to be seen in the government than anywhere else. Well, the ANC is not famous for openness or accessibility in its governance. So we don't know how much we see, but we do know from looking at the astrological charts that there's an enormous amount of fracture and conflict going on behind the scenes, a lot of disagreement. They are presenting a united front on many things that they're doing, but it's clear from the chart that behind the scenes, there is not a united front, and there's a lot of stress that can actually lead to some form of explosion. I actually wouldn't be so surprised if before the end of the year, there's been yet another split or breakaway in the ANC or something like that, whether it's a split or whether it's a sudden departure of important people in the ANC, but it doesn't look like things are going to stay quiet for very long. The ANC government looks like it's gotten itself into a conflicting situation. If this were a different country, someone would look at this chart and say that we are going to be engaging in a war. Now, in this country, this chart doesn't usually mean that. And given the circumstances of this country, it's not likely to mean that. We don't have clear enemy or anything like that. But nevertheless, whether the enemy is within, or just in the country, it looks like the ANC will be fighting battles on many fronts. The government will be fighting battles on many fronts at this time. So not only in terms of a war, but it also looks like conflict with others, so friends and enemies. Now, it does look like we are continuing to align ourselves with new friends, and it's an on and off theme that's been happening in South Africa's chart for quite a while, is this kind of realignment where different allies are happening and different forces we are connecting with, and that seems increasingly so. ANC has recently aligned itself with more violent groups and more warlike groups like Hamas and so on. And we can see that evident in the chart itself and who we do see more alignment with in various ways, people who are, or countries who are more aggressive. And there is a lot of this Mars energy. It's the energy of war and aggression that's in South Africa's chart at the moment. And that is this bubbling under force in the government. Apart from things like alignments with other countries and things like that, within our own political situation is what, of course, the chart is also referring to. And it looks like as we get closer to the elections, there is going to be a greater explosion or tearing of forces that is eventually going to reveal itself at the latest by the time that we enter the new year. And we're going to see some of the conflict laid bare. In the long run, that's going to help us. It's going to help us as South Africans make better choices and better decisions, and hopefully choose better when it comes to the elections next year and future elections as well. One of the ongoing themes in the chart this month for everyone is finding a better balance and re-establishing some of the goals, letting go of some old ideas and goals and establishing some new ones. This government can do with a lot of that. Probably a few other political parties can do with a lot of that as well. It's looking very good for other political parties at the moment, and we can see that there could be a few of them that take advantage of the splitting and rupture that's beginning to happen in the governing party over the next few months, and will actually benefit from that. So things are actually looking quite volatile in the South African political situation, probably enhanced by the fact that, you know, this government has waded into international situations which are going to cause further friction with its international relations. And that itself, at a local level, is going to provide the opportunity for people to come in where this government is failing to meet the needs or reflect the aspirations of South Africans. The bigger picture has nothing to do with other countries. It has everything to do with ourselves. Does our government reflect our aspirations and reflect who we are as a people? That is what is on the table, that they have put on the table over this next month and the next few months. And as changes happen in government, and as changes happen in the ANC, and as opposition parties move into those spaces and help us start redefining ourselves, it gives us hope for the year ahead and for the elections ahead. My year ahead will appear on YouTube, so make sure that you are subscribed to my channel on YouTube. Just search for my name, and you'll still be able to catch up with the astrological updates when they come up. Until then, you won't be seeing me here much on Cape Town TV, but you'll still be seeing me everywhere else. Let's have a look at what's happening for you in the month ahead. Well, Aries, it looks more than ever that this is one of those months where fate has your path in its hands. And while some of us might think that's always the case anyway, it might make you feel a little bit out of control. And the important thing to check right now is that it's not your partner, your relationship partner, your business partner, or whoever it may be, that is in control. Because your theme this month is all about finding a balance between what you need, what you have to do, what you have to provide, with whatever your partner has to do and provide and need as well. And making sure that things aren't ending up in a situation where either one of you, especially them, is gaining more than they should. Why especially them? Well, you know, that famous Aries kind of short temper or sudden outburst, that verbal side of your personality is coming to the fore this month. Hey, it's also about enthusiasm. It's the enthusiastic side of the Aries personality that might be speaking before thinking. So you can keep a balance by making sure that you're expressing exactly what you mean and not using words that are a little bit too sharp and that you might regret a little bit later on. And make sure that everyone in this relationship is getting as much as they're giving, that there really is that sense of balance, because it does look like there are gains to be made as long as you find the way to tread that special middle path. Taurus, this is a month where financial matters are looking a little bit unpredictable and unstable. And when that area of your life isn't working, everything makes you feel a little bit insecure. And when you're insecure, you tend to become stuck and not really achieve anything. Well, all you really need to do at this time is just focus your energy in the right area for what is possible and necessary this month. And the great news is what's best this month is focusing on things that you love, things that are about you, things that you enjoy to do, things that you're naturally talented at, things that you might even just loved when you were a kid and you haven't done for the longest time. That will help you find a sense of yourself, and most importantly, find those resources which you know that you're good at, that you know that you can draw on, and that you can discover that security doesn't only come from things like material resources and tangible resources like that out there in the world, but also comes from the resources that you can create and produce for yourself. Your gifts, your talents, the stuff that you were born able to do. You sometimes don't even think of those as gifts, but they are. So also have a look and see what can you offer the world or your profession or your goal in those terms, and you'll find it much easier to get that sense of security that seems so elusive this month. You can do it. Gemini, this is one of those times when you might need to navigate yourself a little bit more carefully to the world around you in terms of the people around you. There do seem to be situations where people are either taking offense or you're finding yourself getting caught up in misunderstandings or even conflict with people in some form or other. It's a little bit like you're trying to mind your own business, but you keep on finding yourself getting drawn into or caught up. You know, one of the things that is useful to remember is that people often don't understand where Geminis are coming from, because Geminis will say things that other people are just either too afraid to say or just not seeing it that way or whatever. And you can be amazed at what people take offense at. Rather than defending your position and saying it isn't offensive or whatever the case may be, even if it's not offense, it's often just to the point, too much of to the point, realizing that it's a little bit too clear for some people. So tact and diplomacy might be required in all your engagements this month. One of the big themes for everyone this month is finding a balance, a proper balance, as we leave the month of Libra that seems to be a lingering demand. And one of those things you need to do is just be diplomatic and find the right words. Nevertheless, the right words will get you far. It doesn't only sort out the conflict. Choose your words carefully and your goals are reached this month. We all know, as you do, that Cancerians are all about family, but sometimes family is a bit of a bigger definition than just those blood relatives. Cancerians make great friends, and friendship is important to you, Cancerians. And this is the time to really draw close to those people that are your extended family, the family that you create for yourself, because this is a time to look at some bigger goals and bigger ideals. There have been changes in your family, or there's just about to be some changes that are being made in your family. And in order for you to really get the sense of emotional security that you need from family, you need to look to your larger family of friends to do that. Also, there seems to be opportunities to pursue ideals and important goals through friends this month. Friends and acquaintances could provide structure or focus for some important deals. Structure or focus sometimes means bringing you down to earth a little bit. So don't take it too personally if anyone is bringing you down to earth. They're just refocusing you in the right direction, cutting away the unnecessary, getting back down to basics, bare essentials. That's what's going to get you to fulfill your path. And by identifying the proper important people in your life, you'll know who helps you along the path, friends and family. Leos, it's time to focus a little bit more on the people in your life, wherever they may be, whether we're talking about professional connections or personal connections or whoever it might be. You kind of maybe need to sort out who's really working with you and helping you go forward in your path, and who might be a little bit on their own agenda or just not the right person for you. So look carefully at also who's acting as a block or an excessive critic of everything that you're doing, because it looks like you are kind of being brought down or pulled down by a certain amount of criticism. Doesn't mean all criticism is automatically bad, but it just means make sure that you don't get undermined but make sure that you don't get undermined by whatever your goals and destinations need to be. So it's also a time to make yourself clearly, loudly, and perfectly well understood. Your voice is strong this month. Your words are strong this month. And this is a great time to let it out there, get it out there, and make sure you are clearly understood and that you are expressing exactly what you need to say. This is especially important in personal relationships. There could be a lot going on in that area of your life. And the starting point to clarify and to sort things out is careful, clear, and accurate expression of what you're thinking and what you need to say. Concentrate on that, and you can sort out a lot of the too much people stuff that's going on in your life right now. Virgo, this is a time to kind of really make it happen. Perhaps a lot of hard work is still going to be required, but you're going to really get far if you put your energy into difficult or important tasks that you have this month. Difficult can also just mean there's a lot of work to get done, and you might be feeling a little bit daunted by all the work that's got to be done. But the good news is it's going to be easily achieved, and you're going to clear a lot of obstacles out of your path if you focus on getting that work done and getting the help that you might need. It's a time to express yourself very clearly. It's also a time a little bit to watch your expression a little bit clearly. You are usually good with words, and the chart warns that you can be a little bit too good with words this month, and you might actually be pressing a few buttons in your relationships. Look carefully at your relationships. While good communication is important, it does look like you might be feeling a bit argumentative, and you might get yourself involved in all sorts of verbal engagements that make things worse than they actually need to be. So, like everyone, finding a balance and communicating clearly what your needs are is going to work for you. But most important for you, Virgos, is really just concentrating on the task at hand. You have goals to achieve. There's a lot to be done. Focus on that, and the stuff to do with people and relationships actually becomes a little bit secondary. Librans, all about relationships this month, which is not news and exciting news for you, but it looks like it could be navigating sometimes difficult or thorny paths through relationship matters. In your primary relationship, that's where your most important focus lies, and it's all about making sure you are being clear and all the good things about communication, but that you aren't being a little bit too sharp at the same time. This is a month where conflict can arise, and when you can easily find yourself using words that you didn't really mean to use. So you do need to be a little bit careful about what you say. And that's not only in your primary relationship, it's also in all other connections with other people. But lots of different relationships, friendships and business relationships and so on, might seem a little fractious, or might seem as if they're pulling you in too many directions at the same time. And there's just too much going on with regards to people and social life. You're not seeing clearly. You kind of might be losing your own sense of what do you need, what are you trying to achieve, where are you going in all these relationships. So just keep it clear. Focus on the important relationships like that primary one I mentioned. Don't get too involved with all the stuff that's involving your friends and acquaintances at this time. There will be time for that later. It's all about you and significant other at this time. Scorpios, you need to find the line between just absolutely going for it and getting what you want, and the fact that you're going to have to be a little bit slower and more diplomatic with the people or others who might be helping you to get what you want. So it's a delicate balance between being self-reliant, doing your thing, and relying on your own goals to get you where you need to go, with whatever is not only needed from the people around you, but actually might be some necessary directions or things that you need to bring into your or bring onto your plate that you might not actually have considered, and which might even distract you a little bit from your goals, but it's going to be needed at this particular time. So the balance is between what I want versus what everyone else wants and wants from me. But nevertheless, the real focus in your chart is that this is a time where you can really get as far as possible. And Ideally, it's really a time to be selfish. If you can find a way to kind of go solo as much as possible this month, it's going to work for you. You're probably not going to find it. But in your relationships, that's where you don't want to be solo. So also make sure that you're balancing all that, determined to get your stuff with whatever is needed in your personal life at this time. Sagittarius, over the last little while, you've spread yourself a bit too thin, and you probably are feeling the effects of that. You might just simply be tired and it's all just been a little bit too much. But whatever the case may be, it's time to kind of draw yourself in, get your boundaries back in place, and kind of get back down to basics, to yourself, to your own foundations in some way, because there just has been too much going on. You know, the symbol for your sign, it's a half horse, half human, but that horse image of running far and wide is a good description for how you probably are feeling right now. So this is a time to focus not only on your own foundation, but actually what can I gain out of this? Sagittarians, your main gains come out of ideas, experiences, philosophies, and it's really just getting back to what you love to do and what you identify with. It looks like you've been doing lots of things for other people over the last little while, which is great and generous and all of those good kind of things. But it's really time to ask yourself, what are you doing for yourself and what can you do for yourself at this particular time? Is the time to do those things for yourself. Sagittarius, it's be selfish month, do the things you love the most month, and everything else will just fall into place. Focus on yourself. Capricorns, it looks like there are lots of changes ahead in your life at the moment, especially your professional life, and especially changes that you are making. This is really the time to shake things up. You might have plans that you've had on the back burner for ages, or just wishing to make changes in your professional life, or planning on making them, but the time has arrived to institute those. And in fact, it's kind of like saying, the more the better, the bigger the better. The more you shake things up for yourself in your professional life at this time, the more satisfaction you're going to achieve, because you have been a little bit stuck for a while. And so while you're about it, it's not just changing the outside things in your profession, but it's also adjusting your goals. It's time to reevaluate, why do you do what you do? Are you achieving what you want to achieve, either in that thing or perhaps elsewhere in life? And maybe you need to realign your life so it follows your personal goals, your bigger goals of life better than just what needs to be done at work. So what needs to be done at work needs a bit of adjustment, but also seems to be relying on others at this time. This is a great time to be relying on loved ones, friends, and family to support your goals. But once again, those are what you want to get out of everything you do. Those are the kind of goals to be focusing on at the moment. Aquarians, this is a month for revisiting people, revisiting places, revisiting the past in some way, catching up with the past for some of you as well. So it sounds perhaps that this is about taking a few steps back, but it's also really about containing and identifying what's really important in your life as you go forward. Look back before you go forward is your theme for this month. And you might find there are things that you're carrying that are no longer required. There's some aspects of the past that perhaps are just habits and that come along with the ride just for that reason. And those need to be let go, released at this particular time. On the other hand, there are people and things that you've forgotten about or neglected from your past that could really help you in going forward at this time. And this is the time to reconnect with those. So on the one hand, we have release, and on the other hand, we have reconnect. And those are the two sides of your scales this month, Aquarius, as you seek to find the balance between what's important in your heritage and what you've brought to this point in your life and what you need taking forward. How clear does that path need to be? It's a little bit easier said than done, because some of that going forward looks like it might be blocked, but undo the past and the blocks to the future become undone. Pisces, it's time for one of your favorite activities, and that is just withdrawing a little bit, getting out of the spotlight. Not maybe a spotlight for all of you, but certainly just getting back to yourself, your quiet space. Hopefully, you're one of the lucky Pisceans that's literally a nice quiet place that you can find. But in whichever way it might be possible for you, it's time for a little bit of withdrawal. If your life's too busy for that right now, it might be something that you can do weekends, pursuing your own activities, doing something you love. Perhaps it might be only being able to pursue your spiritual life, which is something that you can do privately and quietly, but must be done. That's not one of those things we could or should be putting off until something improves in some way. Not at all. The only way things are going to improve right now is if you actually take a few steps backwards before you try and go forward in any way. And you'll love it because of this quiet, contemplative, and getting back to your spirituality. That is something that is so important to Pisces and something that you can do quite well. You can also concentrate on your creative life and things that require a lot of time and space to do, projects of any kind, keeping to your own counsel, letting the inner processes work. That's going to strengthen you to be able to go back out into the world again.